as people who are entrepreneurs, who are accustomed to having positive results in every area of their life, and then they confront the marriage or the domestic situation, and they can be stubborn about I'm just gonna do what works for me in every other area, and that's how it's gonna be. And that is pretty much a recipe for disaster. We have a cultural bias. We grow up as children, and we have this idea that we're gonna find true love, and then we're gonna say I do, and then we live happily ever after. And that is something that from childhood sets up a total set of false expectation. The tendency is we look to that person outside ourselves and we're not happy, so it must be their fault. And so we have this entire scenario set up to set us up to fail. The other piece of that is that we are different. Men and women are different. And in addition to just the biological evolutionary differences, we've got cultural differences. We come from different backgrounds. We have different role model expectations. We have different relationships to sex and intimacy. We have different communication skills. You layer on top of that we have very different personalities. When we can embrace our differences as men and women, as husbands, as wives, it's when we can embrace those differences that we really have the opportunity for the magic in relationships. It takes something else, and it takes an understanding and an appreciation of the other person. It takes a different level of giving. We operate as if love were something that the Valentine fluffy thing that's going to rain down on us, is some emotion that we're going to have. And I think if we begin with a decision, with an understanding that love is a decision. I may not feel like loving my spouse today, but I decide to. Second thing is that appreciation of our differences. And I think it's embracing the differences and learning to appreciate and validate and celebrate those differences. That is a key component of that. The third thing is the understanding that the foundation of any relationship, primarily and particularly in this case, is the answer to the question, what are we building? Not how do I feel today? What are we building as a couple? What are we building as a marriage? What are we building as a family, as a business? All relationships, in my opinion, are the answer to the question, what are we building? There are many, many marriages that are on the brink that if both parties will come together and commit to the hard work, there are resources available to couples who are committed to not just a tolerable relationship, but to an extraordinary relationship. And when a couple joins together and says we don't know how, but it would be worth it to do the hard work, and we're committed to that for the long term. And that's where the magic is. We all would love to have a safe place to come home to, a place where we're acknowledged, where we're cherished, where we're valued, where we're heard, and be supported and be loved, and then go back out in the world and fight again. It doesn't just happen because we found true love and got married and said, now we're on for the happily ever after. It kind of is a little bit like swimming. You know, when you jump in the pool for the first time, you didn't know how to swim and it was frightening and you felt like a failure. But once you master some of these fundamentals about relationships and about how to honor and serve your partner and to take responsibility for your role in it, it's never that hard again.